The chairs in the auditorium filled quickly, the excited hum of family members echoing off the high ceilings. Proud parents clutched bouquets. Students in navy blue caps craned their necks, searching for familiar faces. At the very back row, almost hidden behind a pillar, sat a man in a faded gray janitor's uniform. Daniel Rourke kept his head down, hands clasped between his knees. He hadn't intended to come inside. He'd planned to stand in the hallway, maybe peek through the doors when they opened. Crowds made him uneasy. Celebrations made him feel out of place. Everywhere he looked he found button-down shirts, floral dresses, polished shoes. Meanwhile, he wore work boots and a uniform that smelled faintly of bleach. But it was his son's graduation. And nothing, not discomfort, not shame, not old ghosts, would keep him away from that. He slid lower in his seat as more people entered. A group walked past him without giving him a second glance. Good. The day wasn't about him. He checked the time. Still 20 minutes until the ceremony. Plenty of time to leave if the anxiety got too loud. But then he remembered his son's voice from last night. "Dad, you're coming, right? Promise." Daniel had swallowed hard. "I'll be there, kiddo. I wouldn't miss it." So he stayed, even when his heartbeat thumped too fast. Across the auditorium, Naval Academy officers and dignitaries from the guest panel chatted on stage. The school had arranged for Admiral Stephen Holcomb, one of the highest-ranking officers in the region, to speak. Parents whispered excitedly. Daniel didn't care who was speaking. He only cared about one name on the program, Ethan Rourke. Ethan, the kid who used to hide behind Daniel's legs when he was shy. The kid who carved wooden boats with him on Sundays. The kid who somehow grew into a young man determined to join the Navy. A young man Daniel prayed wouldn't repeat the parts of his past he wished he could erase. He rubbed the inside of his left forearm through the sleeve. Beneath the fabric, hidden, was the mark he rarely let anyone see, the tattoo he'd earned in another life. A life he didn't talk about. One he thought he had buried years ago. The lights dimmed. Music swelled. Families rose, craning their necks, phones lifted to record the procession of graduating students. Daniel stood too, his chest tight as he spotted Ethan, broad-shouldered, chin high, eyes scanning the room. And when their eyes met, even from across the auditorium, Ethan's grin lit up the space. Daniel felt something in him crack open, warm and bright. "That's my boy." The ceremony began. Names were called, cheers erupted, and camera flashes popped like fireworks. Daniel clapped politely for every student, though he kept his movements small, hoping not to draw attention. He didn't realize attention was already drifting toward him. At the end of the row behind him, Admiral Holcomb was making his way to his reserved seat. The man paused mid-step, eyes narrowing on the uniformed janitor sitting alone in the corner. Daniel didn't notice. He was too focused on the stage. Holcomb frowned, trying to place a memory that tugged sharply at him. The man's posture, the haircut under the cap, the way he held his shoulders, straight, disciplined, a little haunted. Rourke, he wondered. No, impossible. Daniel Rourke had vanished more than 18 years ago. People said he'd died, others said he'd gone off-grid. The Navy had quietly closed his file, the same way they closed files of men who had given more than they should have. But the Admiral kept staring. The principal finished a speech. Applause rippled. Students shifted. Holcomb watched as Daniel reached up to wipe his eyes, just a quick swipe before anyone could notice. In that moment, Daniel's sleeve slipped up an inch, and the Admiral saw it. A sharp, unforgettable symbol. A black and ink trident crossed by 3 parallel scars. A mark given only to members of a covert Navy unit that officially didn't exist. Holcomb froze, breath stalling. Ghost Trident. Unit 9. The deadliest, most secretive infiltration team the Navy had ever sanctioned. And Daniel Rourke had been their youngest operative. Their brightest. Their most dangerous. Holcomb stared as if seeing a specter. But the man was real. Sitting quietly, clapping for students, wearing a janitor's uniform like he wanted to disappear into it. Holcomb moved before he could think, stepping out of the row and walking straight toward the back corner. Daniel sensed someone approaching and tensed instinctively. Old training never left. He turned his head, and his blood ran cold. The Admiral, right in front of him. "Rourke," Holcomb said quietly. Daniel's jaw tightened. "Sir." You must be mistaken. Holcomb's eyes flicked to the barely hidden tattoo. I don't think I am. A muscle jumped in Daniel's cheek. He tugged his sleeve down. That man doesn't exist anymore, Admiral. I'm here for my son. Holcomb lowered his voice, careful not to attract attention. We believed you dead. I know. You disappeared without a word, without debriefing. Because I wanted out, Daniel murmured. And because staying would have gotten my wife and newborn son killed. Holcomb hesitated. He'd heard rumors, whispers of a mission gone wrong, retaliation, threats made by men no longer following any nation's rules. I didn't know, Holcomb said more softly. Wasn't your job to know. Daniel shifted in his seat, eyes returning to the stage. Please, sir, let it go. Today isn't about me. Holcomb studied him, this ghost of a man once feared even by his allies. Daniel's face was older now, softer in its exhaustion, but his eyes, those were the same, sharp, calculating, always scanning exits. Holcomb finally nodded once. Very well, I won't make a scene. Thank you. But, Holcomb's voice softened again, I would like to speak after the ceremony. Privately. Daniel sighed. He couldn't refuse a direct request from an admiral, not without drawing attention. Just, not in front of my son. Of course. Holcomb moved away, though he kept glancing back with disbelief. Daniel exhaled shakily, hands trembling. He hated feeling exposed, hated being seen by anyone from his old world. But then Ethan's name was called. The auditorium roared. Daniel stood instinctively, clapping harder than he meant to, pride swelling too big to contain. Ethan walked across the stage, shaking hands, receiving his diploma. He paused at center stage, scanning the room again. He spotted Daniel, and he lifted his diploma toward him, just a small gesture, but it hit Daniel harder than any blow he'd taken in combat. When the ceremony ended, families flooded the aisles. Daniel stayed put, letting the crowd thin before standing. He didn't expect Ethan to find him so quickly. Dad, Ethan burst through the seats, tossing his cap aside as he threw his arms around Daniel. You made it. Daniel hugged him back, eyes damp. Wouldn't have missed it for the world. Ethan pulled away, grinning. Did you see me almost trip on the stairs? Didn't notice, Daniel lied with a smirk. Before Ethan could speak again, a shadow approached. Admiral Holcomb. Ethan straightened on reflex. Sir. Holcomb smiled kindly at Ethan. Congratulations, son. You did your family proud. Ethan beamed. Then Holcomb looked at Daniel. Rourke, may we talk? Ethan blinked. Rourke. Dad, why did he call you? Daniel cut in quickly. It's fine, son. Just an old acquaintance. Ethan looked confused, but Holcomb gestured toward a quieter hallway. Reluctantly, Daniel followed. Once alone, Holcomb crossed his arms. Why did you disappear? Daniel leaned against the wall, weary. Because the life we lived didn't allow for families. My wife was threatened. People came after me. I did what I had to. We could have helped you. You couldn't then. And it doesn't matter now. Holcomb studied him. Is that why you're working as a janitor? Daniel bristled. Honest work. Pays the bills. And it keeps my son fed, clothed, and safe. That's all that matters. Holcomb nodded slowly. Your son plans to join the Navy. I know. Are you against it? No. Daniel swallowed. I just want him to have a better life than I did. Holcomb paused. Does he know who you were? Daniel looked away. He knows I served. That's enough. After a long silence, Holcomb said quietly, if he joins, your file will come up. Everything will. I know, Daniel murmured. I'll tell him. When it's time. Holcomb stepped closer. Rourke, you were a hero. One of the finest we ever had. You don't need to hide in the shadows anymore. I'm not hiding. Daniel straightened. I'm raising my son. Holcomb exhaled, then extended his hand. For what it's worth. Welcome back, even if only as a civilian. Daniel shook his hand. Thank you, Admiral. They returned to the hallway where Ethan waited. Ethan's eyes darted between them. Dad, what's going on? Daniel placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. Let's talk at home. Holcomb smiled at the young man. Your father is a remarkable individual, son. Be proud of him. Then the Admiral walked away. Ethan turned to Daniel, eyes wide. Dad, who are you? Daniel took a deep breath. I'm your father, he said simply. And everything I did to protect you. Ethan softened. "Dad, I don't need you to be anyone else." Daniel pulled him into a hug, overwhelmed. As they walked out into the sunlight, caps scattered across the lawn and cameras clicking everywhere, Daniel felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. His past had found him today. But so had pride, and the realization that no matter what name he had once carried, no matter what ghosts followed him, he had become exactly the man his son needed. And that was the greatest mission he had ever completed.